Okay guys, I'm about to start the CR250 engine build, and I figured I'd bring you through the process of preparing everything for the build, since there's actually quite a bit to consider. So let's jump right into it. A really cool thing I'm doing with the transmission is sending all the parts out to Trick Engineering for a process they call super finishing. Basically what they do is polish all the pieces out to reduce friction, and that will increase horsepower and torque numbers, as well as make for a lot smoother shifting. As soon as I get these parts back, I'll show you the tremendous difference in the finish. Alright, I've got the entire engine laid out here. I'm gonna have to figure out exactly what I'm gonna need for parts to put this engine back together. So first off, I've got a wrench rabbit kit on the way, and that includes a crank, piston, crank main bearings and seals, transmission bearings and seals, gaskets, and a water pump rebuild kit. Besides all that, I'll need to pick up a new cylinder, clutch inner hub, clutch plates, and a few other odds and ends as well. And that's what I gotta figure out right now. It really comes down to the small parts and pieces that'll hold up the build. If I'm missing just one bolt or a pin, that'll prolong the entire engine build, so I wanna make sure I've got all that stuff taken care of beforehand. As far as the cylinder goes, this is why I'm replacing it. It's got some wear near the exhaust bridge, and it just isn't usable at that point. So instead of fixing it, it's easier for me to just go buy a new one and sell this one as a core. And that is the biggest reason why I got this bike for so cheap, because of the wear on the cylinder wall here. Someone must have tore it down and realized it's pretty expensive to replace the cylinder. Now for the clutch hub, that was broken when I got the bike, so that'll need replacement. And the clutch plates are just old and worn, and it's always a good idea to start with a fresh set. And the crank, same idea. While I've got this engine completely apart, it only makes sense to replace the crank too. And now for the little bits and pieces. I realized the plate that goes behind the water pump cover is missing. I'll need to grab one of those. And then the cylinder studs are rusted and corroded. Never a bad idea to replace those. As with any engine build, it is always super nice to have new dowel pins. Makes everything go together really smoothly. So the dowel pins are the pins that go right here, in between the cases, the cylinder in the cases, and clutch cover, head, pretty much any major component on the engine. I figured I might as well just show you what a dowel pin looks like for those of you that haven't seen them. This is the one off the cases on this bike. As you can see, it's got some rust and it's chewed up a little bit from removal. So having new dowel pins makes everything slide together so much easier. Oh, and one more thing. I am in need of an outer clutch cover too. Chances are there's probably a lot more that I'm forgetting as well. You know what? I just need to start writing all this down so I don't forget. Alright, I'm gonna go order this stuff up, and as soon as it shows up along with that wrench rabbit kit, I'll be all ready to build. So I've got the transmission back from Trick Engineering, and first off, it is just freaking beautiful. Everything is super shiny, but more importantly, the finish is incredibly smooth. Just running a finger over it, you can tell the tremendous difference, and that'll translate to a transmission that works a whole lot better. For you guys looking to get your transmission done with the super finishing process, definitely hit up Trick Engineering. They've got the quickest turnaround time and best pricing I've come across. Another order just showed up, and this one I am super excited about. It is a Nihilo Concepts engine stand. Basically what you can do with this is securely mount your engine to the stand and build it all the way from the cases to the top end. So you just run these studs through the engine mounting holes and fasten it to the stand. We've got a few different spacers here to accommodate pretty much any engine out there. One of the coolest features about the stand is you can rotate the engine to any angle you need. I'll give you a little demonstration here. You just pull the pin and it rotates all the way around. Super handy for building an engine. And then of course we've got a drain pan here as well, and that'll collect any parts, hardware, or tools you might drop. And the drain pan just goes underneath the arm right onto these bushings here. Pretty slick. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna bolt together the cases and set this thing up. I cannot wait around any longer. So I haven't shown you guys what I've done to the engine cases yet, so check this out. I'll have a whole video covering the entire process of shining these things up. But for right now, I'm gonna mount them up on the engine stand. Pretty much just gonna configure these mounts however the cases will mount up on here. So this is going to go through the rear mounting hole where the swing arm bolt goes through, and this should be for the lower or the very front mount on the cases. So I've got the cases mounted up on the studs, but it looks like it's going to make more sense to pull off one of these brackets here. It's kind of in the way. I'll show you on the other side. So this bracket here is going to prevent me from rotating the engine completely around. So I'm going to pull it off and see if I can get things to line up still. That's a whole lot better. This thing is on here super secure. It's not going anywhere. So this other bracket would be more for a different size engine, or if you had different configured motor mounting holes. And I ended up with a little larger spacer in the back compared to the front, just to get it centered on the stand. You definitely want it square within the stand. Now it's time for the fun part. To rotate the engine around, you just pull the pin on the end, and you can spin it around to any position you desire. Go upside down, push the pin in, it's locked into place, or you can go flat. Super secure here on the stand. I'm telling you what, this is going to be a lifesaver when it comes to building this engine. I'm going to pull everything apart and show you what it would look like right from the get-go of starting the engine build. Alright, this is exactly how the engine build is going to start out. Going to have the right case mounted up, spin the stand to about flat, right about there, and then I can get started popping in the bearings, crank, and transmission components. Needless to say, I could not be more excited to get started with this engine build. So guys, check out nihiloconcepts.com. They've got a ton of trick parts over there and cool tools like this engine stand. I'll put the link to their website down below. More dirt bike parts, who can complain about that? So this wrench rabbit kit is really going to be the core of this engine rebuild. It's going to cover a lot of the components I'm replacing. Let's see what we got inside here. Looks like a gasket set. Yep, complete gasket set here. It's pretty necessary. So it should have a crank, piston, and a bunch of bearings and seals in here. Alright, we've got a Vertex piston. Open that up later. Looks like some transmission seals. The crank main bearings and seals. Water pump rebuild kit. And then some transmission bearings as well. So this should cover all of the bearings and seals in the bottom end. And then most importantly is a crankshaft. See if I can open it up here. There she lies. That's really going to be the ticket right there. Man, this is going to be so nice. Pretty much just got to drop it in and she'll be ready to go. Pretty pain-free solution compared to rebuilding the old crank. I'm going to check out this piston for the heck of it. It's pretty cool. Vertex, Wrench Rabbit, Pivot Works, and Hot Rods are all the same company. So it's pretty awesome when they combine their efforts and put together a rebuild kit like this. Makes it really easy for the consumer. Looks like we've got the rings, piston pin, and circlips. And down here is the piston. Check out that beauty. I cannot wait to make this thing go a million miles an hour. Like I was saying earlier, it's pretty crazy how you can just click one button and you've got all the necessities to completely rebuild the engine showing up at your doorstep. Wrench Rabbit makes it so simple for us. So guys, go hit up Wrench Rabbit. They've got things figured out. So literally, as I was filming this video, I heard a clank out on the front porch. The mail lady hucked the clutch cover out of the window on her car, but thankfully it didn't get busted up at all. So you guys know, I got something cool planned for this clutch cover. Stay tuned. And here's a few more pieces of the puzzle that Rocky Mountain sent over. Got a new clutch kit with all the plates and springs, an inner clutch hub, and then a bunch of OEM odds and ends that I was talking about earlier. Mostly dowel pins, studs, washers, that kind of thing. All the little stuff that could potentially hold up the engine build. So it looks like I'm covered there. The last part I'll need is a new cylinder, and I've got one on the way from Rocky Mountain, but in the meantime, there is still a lot of work that can be done. I gotta give a big thank you to the companies that are supporting this engine build. We've got Wrench Rabbit, which includes hot rods and Vertex. Rocky Mountain came in clutch with the clutch components and OEM pieces. Trick Engineering did the incredible super finishing process on the transmission. And of course, we've got Nihilo Concepts with their amazing engine stand. And Maxima stepped up with their oil and assembly lube. So guys, go support the companies that support what I do. And honestly, these are the companies I'd be using regardless. Let's go ahead and pick the winner of the Prime MX sticker pack from the last video. Just got the comment picker pulled up here. Got the URL punched in. Give it a minute while it loads up those comments. Alright, this is going to pick a random winner. It's always cool seeing all those names scroll by. Alright, so you gotta stay too stoked somewhere in the comments. Oh, he did say too stoked. We've got Bitplane Brother, and he says, nice video again. I did pressure wash my bikes, and I still do. Greetings from Germany, and too stoked, of course. So Bitplane Brother, send me a message here on YouTube. I'll get your shipping address, and I will mail these stickers out to you. Congrats, man. And of course, for everyone else, you can support the channel by grabbing your own sticker pack over at primemx.com. I'm going to wrap up this one right here. The next video will be on how I shined up these engine cases. I'll have it up in a couple days, so May 27th is when it'll be live. So stay tuned for that one. And then after that video, I'll have a flurry of engine build videos coming out. So I would definitely recommend hitting that subscribe button down below. Alright, thanks for watching guys. Keep it prime, my friends.